Hey everybody, before we start today's special episode, I wanted to remind everybody that you can follow us in real time on Facebook, on our Facebook group, as well as Instagram. So search for Warren Julie Travel and you should find us. Also, as we travel the world, we are using IM Global Health Insurance to cover our needs in case there's a medical catastrophe. I did become an affiliated agent and appointed agent with IM Global, so if you're interested in learning more about their health coverage, please see the link in the video description or email me at warrenjulietravel@gmail.com and I'll send the link to you. So if you're a nomad, expat, world traveler, or just a simple traveler looking for long-term, short-term coverage, whether you're a U.S. citizen or not a U.S. citizen, check out the policies available for you. I will receive a commission if you use the link. Thank you.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Kotor, Montenegro. We have a special guest today that we're going to interview and you're going to want to stick around and hear what he has to say. He's 35 years old and he's retired at 30. And he goes by the name of The Wandering Investor on his own YouTube channel. Okay, so Laddie, I'm going to call you Laddie. Let's give everybody a little bit of background about who you are and what you're about and how you got here.
Yeah. So, I did the whole thing, college in Canada, grad school in Australia, got my first corporate job in Switzerland, and then I was lucky enough to get expatriated by my company to Africa. And so I spent 7 years in corporate, going up the corporate ladder. So the good thing about being expatriated in tough countries, get a lot of allowances, danger pay, etc. So I made a point of saving the vast majority of my salary with the goal of being able to retire early. So exactly like you guys did. And so at the age of 30, I left and I went on a road trip actually with my parents. We drove from Oman, so near Dubai, to Paris by car, going through Iran, going through the Caucasus, going through Turkey, all of Eastern Europe. And all along that road trip, we spotted so many opportunities, investment opportunities, and gradually I started doing deals, buying some real estate, flipping, etc. And after a while, I realized that I didn't actually need to get even a part-time job. I became a full-time investor. And so after a while, my friends were asking me, they'd see pictures on Facebook. They'd say, Ladislas, you're always traveling in these crazy countries, but you don't seem to have a job. What is it that you do? So I started a blog just documenting some of my thoughts, essentially. And the blog just snowballed into something bigger, and now I have this website, The Wandering Investor, helping people invest overseas and internationalize their life.
Very nice. Now I don't hear any kind of French accent from you, but you're French, correct?
Originally from France, correct.
Okay, and with your background and knowledge with working with people all over the world, not just French, you will work with Americans, Canadians, Australians, or anybody out there. If there's an investment opportunity that you see, if somebody wants to collaborate with you or seeking advice, you're reachable.
And he's multilingual too.
I don't give financial investment advice, to be clear, but we can just talk generally about some topics, yes.
Okay, and you speak how many languages?
4.
And that is?
French, English, German, and Russian.
Okay, that's a few more languages than me.
So what do you think of investing in the Balkans at this point?
The main asset class that people invest in, locals, is real estate. Mm-hmm. So pretty much in every Balkan country it's real estate. So in a way that's good because it comes with greater liquidity. But on the other hand, it also means that in many cases, in some of these countries, real estate prices are inflated compared to local incomes. For example, if you go to Belgrade, the capital of Serbia, or you go to Macedonia, some parts of Croatia, real estate is not particularly affordable for locals. Mm-hmm. So the yields are quite low, and you wonder, where are the future capital gains going to come from? Then there are other countries where the markets are, I'd say, a bit healthier, like Montenegro. Bulgaria is a particularly healthy market where investments make a bit more sense. But overall, I wouldn't say that one comes to the Balkans to invest in real estate to strike gold.
I do notice when you purchase a property in the Balkans, regardless of where the country is, but I'll use Montenegro for example, if you purchase a place here for $200,000 equivalent in euro, whatever, 200,000, you may be lucky if you're going to pull out maybe $600 a month for rent. And so if you're looking at possibly $7,200 in a year on a year-long rent at $600 a month and a return on $200,000, that's kind of chump change as far as a return.
There are three factors for this. One is locals don't really have anything else to invest in. So when they have a bit of money, they buy real estate. They don't really buy stocks overseas. It's not really in the mentality here. Then you have a large diaspora of Balkan people working in Switzerland and Italy and Germany and in the UK. Whenever they have savings, what do? They build something back home or buy an apartment back home for retirement or for the summer. So to answer your question, I see it more as a lifestyle investment that can bring some cash flow. The cash flow won't be worse than it would be in Western Europe, but it offers an interesting lifestyle, and in many cases it can also get you residency. And residency in the Balkans, from a tax point of view, for Americans it's different. Unfortunately, you have the IRS is on your case everywhere, but for other people, being a tax resident of some of these Balkan countries is very interesting.
Mm-hmm. How do you, I'm going to go a little off topic here, with investors coming to Montenegro from other countries, especially non-Schengen countries, I've kind of seen this since 2016, since we started putting Montenegro on our radar and we bought a home here, that more and more Western Europeans have been discovering Montenegro, especially the Brits. I mean, the Eastern Europeans have already been here, but the Western Europeans, I think, are really finding traction coming here. So do you see Montenegro as a non-Schengen landing spot and place for investing due to that aspect of having dollars that might have went to Spain or Portugal finding their way over to Montenegro?
I mean, just look at yourselves. You looked into various parts of Europe, and generally being able to obtain residency in Schengen areas is a bit more bureaucratic. In some countries it's actually not very possible. So here they make it very easy. So if you're a non-EU person and you want to live in Europe, you want to have an affordable lifestyle in Europe, then the Balkans are essentially the place to be.
I concur.
Excluding the Balkans, are there areas within Europe, Africa, or places you've been to that you think are hot, that you think people should be thinking about for, not so much maybe for living, unless you think that's a good idea, but for investing?
So I'm very bullish right now, Uzbekistan. So Uzbekistan is a country in the heart of Central Asia, near Afghanistan actually, but it's a very different dynamic there. They had essentially communism up until 4 or 5 years ago. And the old dictator died, a new president took over, and since then he's been implementing a lot of reforms. And they're all extremely business-friendly reforms, much friendlier than what you find in most of Europe. And the red carpet has been rolled out for foreign investors. And because of the country's strategic location in the middle of Eurasia, geopolitically, everyone wants to invest in that country. So you've got Russia investing, China investing, India investing, Turkey investing quite a lot because Uzbekistan is a Turkic country from a language point of view. And also the Middle East is investing quite a bit, so Gulf Arabs, because it's nominally Muslim. The US is investing, Europe is investing. So there's just this flood of capital going into this very youthful economy that's just opening up, and that has a lot of natural resources as well. And you can get funds in and out. I've done it myself. I bought a bunch of shares on the local stock exchange, the Tashkent Stock Exchange, and whenever I sell shares and I want to repatriate the funds, the money arrives in my bank account overseas within a week. So
Fantastic.
smooth process. So one is Uzbekistan. From a real estate point of view, Ukraine is quite interesting.
Just we're there.
Yes, I wanted it.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah, so I mean,
Yeah.
you liked,
We
you enjoyed
love
Ukraine,
Lviv,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic. But I think you're maybe more bullish on the Kiev.
Yes, and what's happening is there's a phenomenon of internal migration with the frozen conflict in eastern Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Ukrainians who used to live in the east are now moving to Kyiv, and hence the population of Kyiv keeps growing. And there haven't been any mortgages for 10 years, so it's a cash market, and there hasn't been much construction. So the market is extremely tight. So you can find rental yields of 10% plus, which you'd have a very hard time finding anywhere in Europe for near prime property.
And I think one of the first videos I saw of yours were opportunities in Kenya. Is Kenya still happening, or what's your take on that?
Oh, Kenya. Yes, I spent about a month in Kenya. I was looking at real estate. The issue there, it's actually incredibly affordable. You can get prime real estate in Nairobi, which is one of the main business hubs in Africa, for less than $1,000 a square meter. I'll let you translate into square feet.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially very cheap. But the tax system for non-resident investors is not very favorable. So if you want to play Kenya, it's actually through the local stock market. And there you can find, actually throughout Africa, excluding South Africa and North Africa, you can find companies that give you double-digit dividend yields, that have close to zero debt on their balance sheet, and that are growing at double-digit rates every year.
Wow.
In very understandable and basic businesses such as cement or alcohol or food or packaging or cigarettes. So Africa, some African markets are very interesting if you invest on the local stock markets and aim for local blue chip companies.
How easy is it for a U.S. citizen or Canadian or person from UK to find a way to tap into that African stock market exchange? And
actually, there are a few ways. You can invest in funds that are based out of New York, London. There are some Africa ETFs, but generally funds managed out of London and New York are just guys in suits and offices just buying stuff, and they don't have any idea of the reality on the ground. So I wouldn't touch these. The ETFs typically track companies in Western markets that have a lot of Africa exposure, so you're not getting the local blue chip companies, which is actually the play you want. So then you have to either open a brokerage account in Africa through a local broker in each of these countries.
Can you do that online, or do you have to go to Africa?
Remotely.
Okay.
Typically, you just need to fill out a form, get it notarized, send it through, and then you'll have access to some online trading platform, and then you can trade, or you buy into some local funds. So personally, I've chosen to invest through a fund. I've talked quite a bit about it on my channel. And essentially, it's an Australian fund manager based out of Tanzania, and he invests across a number of African markets. So unfortunately, that's not available to U.S. investors because, again, SEC regulations, blah, blah. The world is a lot more complicated for Americans. But for your Canadian, Australian, UK followers, that would be an option. I'll say, and Russia is very interesting. So I know Russia in the US is the big boogeyman, but if you have an interactive broker's account, you can actually buy stocks in Moscow, or you have access to a lot of Russian stocks listed in the US, in London, and in Germany. And some of these companies in Russia dish out double-digit dividend yields as well.
Do you find that interactive broker is a good route to go for people to start an investment account to invest abroad?
Yeah, you have access to many different markets, unlike with the other accounts.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So I'll go ahead and put, you've got an affiliate link for,
Yes.
I'll put his affiliate link down in the video description in case you're looking to open an account through that route. Let's circle back to Montenegro. Obviously, we love it here. We own a home here, and the place we're sitting in, we almost bought, but you'll see when we look at this home in a separate video, there's a downside to this particular house, and you'll have to tune in for that one.
It will shock you.
Yes, but otherwise, it could be a potential gold mine because we're in Stary Grad, Old Town, Kotor, Montenegro.
Correct.
And I know you know about the dynamics here. I guess I'll let you kind of say why is Kotor, Old Town, within the walls, a good place to invest potentially?
Yeah, so when you look at the market on the Montenegrin coast, there are a few hotspots. So the main generally investment hotspots are Kotor, Tivat, Budva. Budva is very popular with people from the Balkans and from Eastern Europe, but you go there and it's mostly a kind of a party city with a lot of building, etc. So when you buy something in Budva, there's always the risk that a new larger building will appear right in front of you. Then there's Tivat, which is a lot of new money with the whole marina. It's personally, I like it for living. I find it.
Well, that's the $1 billion yacht club there, and there's super yachts there. So if you haven't seen our other videos to show you, it's one of the, I think probably one of the nicer yacht clubs in the world.
Yeah.
Is right here in Montenegro.
It is beautiful.
And there's a lot of building again.
Yeah.
So as an investment, if you want to invest long term, you're always at the risk of just too many buildings popping up in your neighborhood. So I've done deals there, but it's mostly flips. But what's unique about Kotor is that it is one UNESCO heritage. It's a beautiful old town, and supply is restricted. Essentially, there's the old town. That's the architecture of the old town. Nothing's going to change for the next 1,000 years, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
So when you buy real estate here, you're not just buying a piece of land with a depreciating asset on it and some cash flow. You're actually buying a piece of history. So inherently, when you buy here, it's worth more. And this is something that Americans often tend to misunderstand when they come to Europe. They don't fully appreciate the value of old architecture and the inherent value that people place on it. Just as Europeans, when we go to America, we'll see a house from 1990. For us, that's pretty recent. We'll be like, oh, that's fine. And then afterwards, American friends will tell us, oh yeah, that's an old house. So
it's time to remodel.
It's time to remodel. It's like, what? It looks great.
Yeah.
So it's very important to be aware of all these cultural differences when you go into a foreign market. And you guys played it well. You came here and you saw, cool, the market dynamics make a lot of sense here. And you're right. Like Kotor is from a long-term investment point of view, is definitely safer than venturing outside of the old city walls.
Yeah, I mean, the way we see it with supply and demand, you can't build new homes within the historic walls of Kotor, and so you don't have a building boom. You just have remodeling going on, people that are investing in upgrading. And this is where the cruise ships stop when they start running again. This is where the cruise ships come. This is where most people that come from the United States or Canada get exposed to Montenegro through the cruise ships. That's why we decided Montenegro is a good investment. We don't see a possibility of our property ever depreciating, and that it would only appreciate, and so we feel pretty secure.
I see it
here.
as though, like in America, the way I would look at it is direct oceanfront property.
Mm-hmm.
You can't build more ocean.
Mm-hmm.
So when you buy direct oceanfront, you're buying something that, it can't be replicated.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you'd like to throw in or add into?
Yeah,
viewers?
I'm seeing a lot of North Americans, particularly, increasingly getting second citizenships for a few reasons. So one, there are a lot of Americans that are fed up with paying high taxes, so they get themselves one or preferably two passports, and then they renounce U.S. citizenship. so they don't, wherever they go, Uncle Sam doesn't follow them and try to tax them. That's one. And then two, there's a second segment of Americans that are just generally more conscious of their freedoms, and that if things were to take a bad turn, you know, there's always somewhere that would accept them. And there's a big boom in Americans and Canadians obtaining these second citizenships.
So Julie and I, we often will focus on residency somewhere, not to be confused with citizenship.
Right.
If you're interested in things like second citizenship, we're probably not the people to look at for that, but going over here to Laddie will probably be a good stop, and to check out his channel. So if you want to go check out his videos after you're done binge watching every single one of our 130, 40 videos, you have no reason to leave our channel until you're done, by
He's
the
a
way.
brilliant gentleman. So
Yes. And so, well, we want to thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
And so as a reminder, everybody, Julie and I were traveling the world with our two beautiful dogs, and we're trying to see what life is like in different places, and we're trying to share our experiences with you and the cost of living. And we hope that you're going to give this video a like, and don't forget to subscribe. And so until next time, have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.